This is Travis Wayne Goodsell, and it occurred to me today that nobody's catching on to the symbolism of Sunday's synagogue attack. I did hear one person who've caught on to the symbolism of the Las Vegas shooting, having a shooting in the place where an altar would be if it were at a temple site in Egypt. And yeah, it was in front of the Pyramid Hotel, the Luxor. And so when I saw that that's the floor plans or the blueprints of the area, I immediately made the connection. But also, everybody has been talking about child, baby, man-child. If you'll recall your Revelation chapter 12, there's supposed to be in the last days a man-child born who's supposed to rule the world. Christians have misinterpreted that to be the Antichrist because they don't read the context. The dragon tries to kill the woman and her child, the man-child. So if the devil is the dragon and he wants to kill the man-child is therefore not the Antichrist. But in our society and watching the news and watching our cultural entertainment, even songs come up talking about the man-child. Trump says he's not a baby, and a British person comes up with a baby blimp, a baby Trump blimp, and SNL does a joke on the man-child, and so people are aware of things, and maybe they're not. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but I doubt it. Yeah, there's symbolisms going on, and just like with the Jewish attack on Sunday, it's significant. As you guys know, in Pittsburgh, the Tree of Life Synagogue is the name of it. The Tree of Life, as most people know, comes from the book of Genesis, the Garden of Eden, and the two different trees. There's also an understanding in Jewish mysticism. Now, this is not practiced by Orthodox Jews. Orthodox Jews want nothing to do with Jewish mysticism. Jewish mysticism emerged around the Enlightenment period and has their own traditions and learning of the Torah in violation of orthodoxy, of Jewish orthodoxy. Among the traditions is Kabbalah or Kabbalah, depending on your educational phonemes. I don't really care much for phonetic perfection. If you know my research, I go to the origins, and it's pictorial in origin, and all different phonetics back in those days. So if you're easily offended with modern misphonetic pronunciations, that's your problem. But among the traditions is the story of a woman named Lilith. And let me go to her story in the Bible. Okay, well, that's not the one I want. She's considered the first wife of of Adam because of the tradition of the Jewish mystics. And it's in here somewhere in Lilith in the Wikipedia page for Lilith. Alphabet of Ben Sira is the text. Okay, and here's from the Alphabet Ben Sira. Okay, and after God created Adam, who was alone, he said, "It is not good for man to be alone." He then created a woman for Adam from the earth, as he had created Adam himself, and called her Lilith. Those who know biblical Hebrew and have looked at the creation story, you'll notice that the word for darkness or night is Lilith. Lila. Lilith is the feminine singular using the Egyptian grammatical termination, though certain Jewish groups utilize that in the creation of the Torah in 800 to 1000 AD. And so, yeah, there's two different forms in Hebrew, but the T ending comes from the Egyptians. Adam and Lilith immediately began to fight. She said, "I will not lie below." If you are familiar with the King James terminology, there's the word "no," and it's understood to be a sexual connotation. When you know your wife, it means you had sex with her and you conceived a child, and that's usually what follows. And Adam knew his wife, and she begat Cain, and she begat Abel, she begat Seth, etc. And so what is going on here is they're talking about sexual relations spat, and Lilith is saying, "I will not lie below when we have sex." She wanted to be on top, and I've already pointed out where this comes from the Egyptians. It's the creation story, but it continues, and he, Adam, said, "I will not lie beneath you, but only on top. For you are fit only to be in the bottom position, while I am to be the superior one." So for some reason he thought this had to do with superiority, with the particular author. And so he's creating a story to explain how there's man and woman created in chapter 1, and then how man and women are created in the next passage, or the next chapter. And so he's trying to explain it, and he's going to the ancient documents, the ancient records, to tie it all together. So there is some legitimacy to this. The Talmud also brings up Lilith. So Lilith responded, "We are equal to each other, inasmuch as we were both created from the earth." But they would not listen to one another. When Lilith saw this, she pronounced the ineffable name and flew away into the air. Wow, she can fly. Adam stood in prayer before his Creator. Oh, isn't that pious of him? "Sovereign of the universe," he said, "the woman you gave me has run away." And it just said she flew away. At once the Holy One, blessed be He, sent these three angels, Senoi, Sansenoi, and semangelof. And those are not Hebrew words, especially semangelof, because Hebrew words are three-letter combinations at the most. Occasionally you'll have a four-letter combination, but you can clearly tell that semangelof is not a combination of two words like Elijah is Yah and God put together. So this is how you can tell that this is not an original text, that this is a much later creation. Said the Holy One to Adam, if she agrees to come back, what is made is good. If not, she must permit 100 of her children to die every day. Wow, 100 children a day? The angels left God and pursued Lilith, whom they overtook in the midst of the sea, in the mighty waters wherein the Egyptians were destined to drown. See, he's tying this to the Exodus, and there's a significance to the Exodus. They told her God's word, but she did not wish to return. The angels said, we shall drown you in the sea. Leave me, seashells. She said, I was created only to cause sickness to infants. If the infant is male, I have dominion over him for 8 days after his birth. That's when circumcision is to occur, is on the 8th day. And if female, for 20 days. When the angels heard Lilith's words, they insisted she go back, but she swore to them by the name of the living and eternal God, whenever I see you, or your names, or your forms in an amulet, I will have no power over that infant. She also agreed to have 100 of her children die every day. Accordingly, every day 100 demons perish. And for the same reason, we write the angels' names on the amulets of young children. When Lilith sees their names, she remembers her oath, and the child recovers. Okay, well, there's an older tradition in Jewish literature that connects Lilith to an encounter with Elijah. Let's see if I can find a quick link over to Elijah. Did I mention Kabbalah, having the tree of life? Okay, I'm going to have to just type in Elijah here. Hold on. Elijah. Wikipedia. Okie dokie. Alright, so Elijah in Judaism. Okay. At Jewish circumcision ceremonies, which happened Sunday, which was the 8th day after a Jewish baby had been born. Because this is an interesting thing that happened. If the murderer intended on killing as many Jews as he could, he would have known that the Jews celebrate the Sabbath on Saturday, not Sunday. As a result, he would have had a whole synagogue full of Jews, but he went the next day. And so there weren't as many Jews, only family members of the baby who had been born. And so at Jewish circumcision ceremonies, like the one that happened Saturday, a chair is set aside for the use of the prophet Elijah. Elijah is said to be a witness at all circumcisions when the sign of the covenant is placed upon the body of the child. cutting off the foreskin. This custom stems from the incident at Mount Horeb. No, it goes to the Exodus. But then they talk about Elijah on Mount Horeb and Mount Carmel. They've forsaken their covenant and blah blah blah. Okay, so this is not the reason that they give here as to why Elijah is given a special seat to watch. Elijah is also significant because of Passover. Passover for the Jews is not a symbolism of Jesus Christ and his sacrifice and resurrection. For Jews, Passover goes to the Exodus account. And this was when Pharaoh was oppressing the Israelites, not just Jews. They're one of the 12 tribes. 13 technically, because Joseph had the birthright blessing, and so both Ephraim and Manasseh were part of the tribes. So however you want to count it, 12, 13, 14 if you include the daughter Diana, or Dinah actually. But on Passover, Pharaoh was mean and was putting them in slavery, and Moses came and threatened Pharaoh's position of authority, and so Pharaoh was upset, and Moses, through his rod, was causing all sorts of plagues. And then Pharaoh continued to refuse, and then, as I've pointed out in another video, Pharaoh falsely accuses Moses and condemns him to die if he were to return to Pharaoh's presence. And according to Deuteronomy chapter 19, false accusers are to be punished according to the punishment that they sought for the one they falsely accused. Therefore, Pharaoh, his son, was to die, so that his authority would end. Because in Egypt, it's the birthright blessing son who succeeds the father, or succeeds the father. Secession is a different word. And so the murder of the firstborn of Pharaoh is like killing off the succession of pharaohs, of the dynasty. And so, yes, it was also the firstborn of Egypt and the firstborn of the cattle and all that. It has to do with the death of the firstborn son. And as you can see, there's the tie-in to Lilith. Because Lilith kills children, but specifically the firstborn male. And it all has to do with her story in Jewish mystical literature, that she was upset and wanted to kill Eve's sons to prevent a succession of the lineage of Adam. And so the Jews were spared, or the house of Israel was spared, and as a result, Jews on Passover celebrate this moment and include Elijah in their celebration. They have a Passover feast, and it's got the unleavened bread, if you're familiar with it, but also they have 4 or 5 cups of wine, and that's supposed to be a symbolism of what Elijah is to do when he comes back is to answer questions regarding the Torah that Jews have struggled to learn the answer to all these millennia. And so a place is set at the table of Jewish households for Elijah, and a cup of wine, and thus Elijah's cup is also placed at the dinner table. And the east door to the house is to be opened during the meal for Elijah to come in, that he is welcome into the home. And that has to do with the Exodus again, where the blood of the lamb was spread on the doorposts of the Israelite houses. And so as you can see, this all in the Exodus is symbolic of the last days for the Jews. They're symbolically connected, because Elijah is supposed to return in the last days and do all sorts of things, and is comparable and equivalent to, as I propose, to the Jewish Messiah of the last days. And so the Jews celebrate this on Passover. And so you can see the connection, but I'm going to read you the story of Jewish literature. Alright, so in Jewish literature, Elijah meets Lilith. And as it's recorded in Wikipedia, Elijah was always seen as deeply pious. It seems only natural that he would be pitted against an equally evil individual. This was found in the person of Lilith. Lilith, in legend, was the first wife of Adam. She rebelled against Adam, the angels, and even God. She came to be seen as a demon and a witch, a serpent. Elijah encountered Lilith and instantly recognized and challenged her. "Unclean one, where are you going?" Unable to avoid or lie to the prophet, she admitted she was on her way to the house of a pregnant woman. Her intention was to kill the woman and eat the child. Christians, are you familiar with Revelation chapter 12? This is the man-child. Elijah pronounced his malediction. "I curse you in the name of the Lord. Be silent as a stone." But Lilith was able to make a bargain with Elijah. She promises to forsake my evil ways if Elijah will remove his curse. To seal the bargain, she gives Elijah her names so that they can be posted in the houses of pregnant women or newborn children, or used as amulets. Lilith promises, "When I see those names, I shall run away at once. Neither the child nor the mother will ever be injured by me." So I hope you see the symbolism there with what happened last Saturday, or Sunday rather. You have a tree of life, synagogue, Jewish mysticism, textual knowledge about a killer, one who wants to murder Jews, but specifically Jews at a baby's circumcision, a male baby's circumcision. So if you still can't see the connection to the symbolism, but you can see the connection to an Egyptian pyramid overlooking the altar area where the Las Vegas incident happened, I don't know what to say to you. But yeah, this was a very symbolic event that took place. Whether we want to go to the extremes and call this a conspiracy theory, it depends on your definition of conspiracy theory, because he clearly acted alone, though he was motivated by Trump's rally speeches and propaganda that Trump spews. But as to whether he had been paid off to do this, I doubt it. Whether it's secretly arranged to have been on the circumcision day rather than the Jewish Sabbath, I don't know if we can ever know that. But I hope you understand that a conspiracy theory is not fake news. Conspiracy means more than one person are involved in a crime. And a theory is a logical argument that the premises soundly lead to the conclusion. So there's nothing fake about a conspiracy theory. But there's definitely symbolism with what happened on Sunday, tying it all together with the last days. And like I said, it ain't Trump who's the last days Messiah, especially with his anti-Semitism. And so I've pointed it out elsewhere that he's actually the beast, because the dragon is the devil, Satan, Lucifer, whatever name you want to use for him, and he has two followers on earth. One is a government leader referred to as the beast, and the other is the religious leader called the false prophet. And because the total solar eclipse occurred over the whole United States during the time frame of John's signs that he indicates in chapter 12, it refers to Trump and a dominant religion originating in the United States. So it's not the Pope. And I've already explained it in other videos, but that's not my point. And Jews don't have a religious leader, so it's not the Jews either. And they're in Israel, especially now that Trump made Jerusalem the capital. And I've already discussed that Jerusalem was never the capital of Israel. So that's the symbolism, and it has a direct tie to these last days, the end of the world, Armageddon, whatever religious term you use for it. Because we're in it, whether you want to believe it or not, whether you believe in religion or not. If you're not a believer in religion, you definitely can tell that there's mass corruption going on, and it's going to lead to destruction. So hang on to your hats.